Hi, I'm Fuzz Sanderson from Piedmont Earth Skills with a video about fire for the Archaeological Society of South Carolina. I'm going to demonstrate the process of creating a fire by friction using the bow drill method. Now ordinarily I'd be doing this live and in person at the Fall Field Day, but that is not happening this year, so I was asked if I could put together a little video about it. We're going to go over some of the materials and techniques of getting that coal and a few important tips, so stay tuned. Now, before you get too excited about getting that coal, you need to make sure that you have a good fire lay. Now, that is, you've already gathered your firewood and set up your fire for success. That process is just as important, and we could do another in-depth video of how to make that work. Some tips and tricks and what wood to use. Once you've got your coal, that's not the time to go hunting for firewood. The process of making fire in the old way can be shown with a quick video of rubbing two sticks together, and I've often heard people say, wow, that was fast. What you don't see there is the time-consuming process of getting your kit together. Gathering all of the materials, carving, shaping, modifying for everything to be just right. A well-made kit, protected and kept dry, and suited to your individual preferences makes the process much easier. I like to keep my kit protected in my bark basket. I've got all of the parts ready to go inside here. In fact, I even have a little redundancy in case one of the components is not working at the moment, especially when doing this in front of a crowd, because the likelihood of success is inversely proportional to the number of people watching. So let's go over some of the components here. I've got my bow for the bow drill fire. Now this particular bow is a bone bow. That's a rib of a buffalo, an actual water buffalo rib. If you don't happen to have a water buffalo rib lying around, you can also use a stick, of course. And now in this case I've chosen a nice bent stick that's sturdy, and the stick length I like to have about the length of my arm from shoulder to fingertip. For my drill, also called a spindle, this is a piece of basswood. Now this is the tip part that's going to go into the socket, and you can see that's a little skinnier than the bottom end. The bottom end here, which I've carved all the black soot off of, that's the business end, and I want to protect that and make sure nothing that's oily or damp touches it. I want that to be well protected. Basswood is a really good wood to use. There are a lot of different kinds of wood you can use, and we'll put those together in a list for you. This particular kit, this fireboard that I have here, and the spindle are mated together. In other words, I've made a couple of fires with it already, so I know that spindle fits perfectly inside that notch. Now up at the top of the kit there, I have a little notch in the board that is for the coal to fall down onto my welcome mat. If I didn't have that notch in there, the coal, all the dust, the hot dust I've created, would accumulate right around the top of where that hole is. So I want that notch to be all the way to the middle and just a pie wedge shape. Now this is my welcoming mat that I can use. Once the coal gets created, it will land there, and I'll be able to transfer that to my tinder bundle when it's ready. What I'm showing here is this is a serrated mussel shell knife that I learned the technique of making from Steve Watts. And I just use this once I've carved that notch out. It's a good way to kind of clean that notch and make sure there's no extra little debris pieces in there. I like to use as many natural materials as I can, so this is a good material to use. Now coming over to my Thunderbird, or my bearing block. This is the socket that I will use to put pressure down and keep the spindle from flying off. And you can see in that little hole there the tip of this spindle is going to fit perfectly inside that, and I've shaped it so that it will fit. I want to have very, very little friction in that hole right there. So my bearing block in this case is a piece of soapstone. This is a little piece of beeswax that I got from my buddy James Clinkscales, and that beeswax acts as a lubricant. Anything waxy or oily like that will work as a lubricant up in that socket. You want to really reduce the friction up in there if you can. And if you don't have any beeswax, then any kind of natural oil will work. In the absence of having any kind of oil, your body actually has plenty of oil on it. You may be able to get enough oil off of the bridge of your nose to work for that. Now, here's another really important part that I keep wrapped up and protected, and this is one of the things that's more time consuming to make as well. This is my tinder bundle. I keep that wrapped and protected inside the bark basket, and you can see as I open it up here, there's a lot of different kinds of material in there. And what's important to know here is, you don't even have to know what the material is. What you want to know is, what are the qualities of that material? Does it shred apart and look like it would catch fire really easy? Now it looks like in this bundle I have some, that actually is part of a mouse nest that I found in my wood pile. There's some cedar bark on the exterior, and I can see there's some pine straw that's been crushed up in there as well. This is a nice large tinder bundle that is good and dry, and I feel like it will do a good job of helping get my fire going. Now there's something else I want to put inside this fire tinder bundle. This is a piece of cracked cap polypore. What is cracked cap polypore, you may ask? It is a fungus that grows on the side of trees. It's a shelf fungus, so you can oftentimes see it growing on the side of a tree like you see here. This is, I'm just putting some small shavings inside of the tinder bundle there because it's, and now what it does is it works really well as a coal extender. Now getting your spindle inside of the bow can sometimes be one of the challenging processes that people have to begin with. So you can see here I'm demonstrating that process, making sure that I have it strung close to where I can grab it with my hand. So just one more time, as you got the business end down and you put it in there and just give it a twist. Lock it in and it's loaded, ready to go. That way you've got everything in one hand so you can load it up on your fireboard and get prepared to start your fire. Now take a look what's going on here. I've got my left foot on the board and I'm going to put that crook of my wrist locked into my shin right there, just below my knee. Now that's important for stability. If I didn't have that locked in like that, it would be very hard to hold that rock steady while I'm pulling back and forth on the spindle. So I want to have that locked and loaded and tight. My body posture is such that I can easily bear down on that and put some additional pressure if I need to. And I'm going to try to use the entire length of the string on my bow to get this fire started. Now, even with as much preparation as I thought I had, there are still things that can go wrong. So it's always a good lesson to have at least one thing go wrong in the process of making your fire. So I fixed that string, and now I'm going back to spinning this again. Now, I'm not starting off too fast. I'll increase pressure and increase speed a little bit as time goes by. Just wanted to get my kit dry and get it started up. That's a very windy day. You can see things are falling down around me. Alright, it's still smoking. That's a good sign. I'm going to tap that board and then move my foot very carefully. I'm going to tap it again with my spindle and make sure that the coal is not stuck to the board so that when I lift the board, the coal doesn't get pulled apart. Now that coal is looking pretty good right now. I've got a good breeze. It's a fairly good size. I don't need to rush at this point. Now, see, you can see where some of that dust had gathered on the top of my board there. Now, the idea was for all of that dust to fall down through the notch that I carved in the board and land on my welcoming mat. Now, since it's a breezy day, it doesn't take long for the wind to start coaxing that fire, that coal into becoming a larger thing. So I'm going to move it really gently to my tinder bundle. And with all the wind, and with the cracked cap polypore acting as a coal extender in my fire kit, in my tinder bundle, I feel pretty comfortable in letting that just rest there for a moment while I start putting the rest of my kit back away. Again, I want to really protect my kit. I like to keep the parts that have worked together. So I've tied my spindle and my fireboard together, and it's going right back in my Appalachian barkberry basket. I'm getting all the materials back inside there. Now the fire triangle consists of three things. The triangle has three sides. It needs oxygen, a source of heat, and fuel. And so with the wind, it's getting plenty of oxygen right now. My source of fuel is the tinder bundle, and the heat was created by friction and pressure. I was pressing down. Now I can just give that thing a little bit more air, and boom. That is fire by rubbing two sticks together. No lighters were used in the creation of this video. Now I am crushing this tinder bundle back down because as I mentioned, tinder bundles take a long time to make, and you want to protect that resource. And so I'm going to put it back in my fire kit to use again later. But what I want to do before I do that is check to make sure it's completely out, because I've put, you know, that tinder bundle back inside the fire kit before, and it wasn't quite out. And just driving down the road and that thing's smoking in the back seat, it's not a good thing. You don't want that to catch back fire again. So crush it down real good, and even a better idea is to take and roll it back up and completely deprive it of oxygen inside that piece of brain-tanned buckskin that I had it wrapped in before. And I can use that for the next fire. Now the actual fire that I laid in the woods, we're going to go back out there because we're not just doing this as a spectator sport. I really wanted to get a fire going for this evening. So I'll show you how I used a piece of fat wood to light this fire out in the woods. So it's coming into fire now, and just beside me, near the fire pit, I have carved a piece of fat wood into a fuzz stick. Now, fuzz stick is not named for me. It's named, actually I don't know who first came up with the name, but it is basically I'm carving a stick to increase the surface area on it so that it catches fire more easily. And there again is another video that we can go through, an entire video showing the process of getting, finding, collecting fat wood and processing it. The fat wood is basically some wood, usually in our case it's pine, that has been, it's got a lot of resin in it. It's very, very resinous, and it burns, as you can see there, very, very well. That's not like soaked in kerosene or anything like that. That's actual fat wood from longleaf pine that I collected out in the woods. And you can see where I put it underneath this fire. The way I constructed my fire was to leave a space where I could actually slide that little piece of wood underneath the fire, underneath the area where I put all my dry sticks and dry wood, so that it had a chance to, it can get air down there, it can breathe, and also it's very effective at lighting the wood that's above it, which is all nice and dry. It's all wood that I collected that was standing. And if I'm lucky, or maybe it's not luck, maybe it's preparation, I might have a fire. Well, I hope that's been instructional for some of you. There are many, many more skills to learn, from everything from fire making to flint knapping to carving to understanding how to make rope from tree bark, to understanding how to find fresh water and how to track, and all kinds of important things you can learn through earth skills. And I hope that one day we can all get together and sit around the fire, tell stories. Until then, thanks a lot. Appreciate your watching, and keep learning, because with learning of a skill comes self-confidence, and with that self-confidence we become a more fully alive human being.